Good evening. Welcome to South Asia Newsline. I'm Surbhi Sharma. Here are the top stories we are tracking for you on Wednesday, the 13th of November. Indian Prime Minister Modi arrives in Brazil for a BRICS summit. Car bomb explosion kills 7 in Afghan capital, Kabul. And Bangladesh train crash kills at least 16. And now for all the details. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi arrived on a two-day visit to Brazil on Wednesday to participate in the 11th BRICS summit aimed at fostering ties between the partner nations. BRICS brings together 5 major world economies, namely Brazil, Russia, India, China and South Africa.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi arrived on a two-day visit to Brazil on Wednesday to participate in the 11th BRICS summit. BRICS brings together 5 major economies, namely Brazil, Russia, India, China and South Africa. On the sidelines of the summit, Prime Minister Modi will be holding multiple bilateral meetings, address the BRICS Business Forum and interact with BRICS Business Council as well as the new development bank. BRICS will discuss counter-terrorism cooperation as one of its priority areas this year. BRICS Innovation Network, BRICS Institute of Future Network and a Women Business Alliance will also be launched. BRICS comprises 42% of the world population, contributes to 23% of global gross domestic product and around 17% of the share in world trade.
Pakistan on Wednesday continued to violate ceasefire along the border in India's Jammu and Kashmir, targeting forward posts in Rajouri district. On Tuesday, people living in border villages in Poonch district were forced to stay holed up as Pakistani troops resorted to mortar shelling.
The residents of border villages in India's Jammu and Kashmir were forced to stay holed up as Pakistan violated ceasefire, targeting civilian areas on Tuesday. Shells were seen exploding in Shahpur sector of Poonch district. Fires were also spotted post-explosions in some forest areas in the region in the proximity of residential areas. The firing, which began in the afternoon at about 3:30 p.m., continued till late evening.
तो हम अंदर ही हैं अपने घर पे तो गोली तो चलते हैं
किस तरह का माहौल यहाँ के लोगों में जब फायरिंग होती है
बहुत अंदर छुपे रहते हैं बच्चे दिहाड़ी मजदूरी होते हैं क्या करेंगे
यहाँ पे बहुत ही फायरिंग चलती है ये अभी देख लो लोग अपने अपने घरों में छुपे हुए हैं ये देख लो हम कई बार स्कूल भी नहीं जा सकते
Indian security officials blame that Pakistan attempts to push a number of infiltrators during ceasefire violations. Relations between India and Pakistan, already hostile, have been further strained over India's decision in August to revoke the special status of Jammu and Kashmir.
News just in. Pakistan's Law and Justice Minister Farooq Naseem has announced that former Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif will be given a one-time permission to travel abroad for his medical treatment for a period of 4 weeks. This comes after Cabinet's subcommittee held marathon meetings to finalize its recommendations on the matter of removing Sharif's name from the exit control list. Sharif was released on bail last month from a 7-year sentence for corruption after repeated medical issues. Moving on, Pakistan in a bizarre propaganda has put on display a mannequin of Indian pilot Abhinandan Varthaman at a museum run by the Pakistan Air Force in Karachi. Abhinandan shot down Pakistan's F-16 during aerial combat in Kashmir region and was held captive for 3 days earlier this year.
In a bizarre propaganda, Pakistan has displayed a mannequin of Indian Air Force pilot Wing Commander Abhinandan Varthaman inside a war museum of Pakistan Air Force in Karachi. The mannequin stands in a gallery named Operation Swift Retort. According to reports, the exhibit at Karachi Museum includes parts of fuselage and tail of his aircraft, a MiG-21 and his watch. Abhinandan shot down Pakistan's F-16 during an aerial combat in Kashmir region and was held captive for 3 days earlier this year. He was released within a few days in a peace gesture from Pakistan aimed at diffusing tensions. The gallery also contains images reenacting the moment his plane was shot down and photographs showing him being handed back to India at the Wagah border crossing.
In news from Afghanistan, at least 7 people were killed on Wednesday in a car bomb blast near the Afghan Interior Ministry in Kabul. There was no immediate claim of responsibility for the attack.
A car bomb explosion near Afghanistan's Interior Ministry in capital Kabul on Wednesday killed at least 7 persons and wounded 10, an official said. Nusrat Rahimi, spokesperson for the Interior Ministry, said the target of the blast was a vehicle owned by foreign security company Garda World, and 4 security guards working for the company were also wounded. Rahimi said the number of casualties could rise. The blast in Kabul's Kasaba area also damaged several other vehicles at the site. Afghan President Ashraf Ghani's office, in a series of tweets, condemned the blast, shared condolences with the families of the victims, and called the action a crime against humanity. There was no immediate claim of responsibility for the attack till the last reports came in.
More news from Afghanistan. The United States government welcomes and strongly supports Afghan President Ashraf Ghani's courageous decision to release the 3 Taliban prisoners, the U.S. ambassador to Kabul, John Brass, said on Tuesday. The envoy said the move by the Afghan government was a response to the overwhelming desire of Afghans for peace. The United States ambassador to Kabul, John Brass, has said that the U.S. government welcomes and strongly supports Afghan President Ashraf Ghani's decision to release 3 Taliban prisoners. The ambassador, while talking to a local media outlet on Tuesday, said Ghani's decision is the latest in a series of courageous steps by the government to respond to the Afghan people's overwhelming desire for peace. President Ghani, at a news conference on Tuesday, confirmed that Anas Haqqani, Haji Malik Khan and Hafiz Rashid, the 3 Taliban prisoners, have been conditionally released in exchange for the release of 2 professors who were abducted while working for the American University of Afghanistan. Last month, the Afghan National Security Advisor Hamdullah Mohib confirmed that recent meetings between Ghani and U.S. Special Envoy Zalmay Khalilzad had focused on the release of the 2 professors. Khalilzad's recent visits to Afghanistan were seen as efforts to revive the stalled Afghan peace talks with the Taliban. US President Donald Trump cancelled the talks in early September after a Taliban suicide attack killed an American soldier and 11 others in Kabul. While there are no formal opinion polls, Sri Lanka's presidential frontrunner Gotabaya Rajapaksa is the hot favourite to win the election this Saturday. The former Defence Secretary has promised to ramp up national security and stamp out Islamist militancy. The issue has taken the centre stage in the election following the Easter Sunday bombings in April.
As Sri Lankans head to the polls to elect a new president on November 16, Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna or SLPP candidate Gotabaya Rajapaksa stands as the widely acknowledged frontrunner. Gotabaya is immensely popular among his supporters for ending the island nation's 26-year-long civil war in 2009 as former defence secretary under his brother Mahinda Rajapaksa's presidency. His supporters believe the country needs a seasoned hand after the Easter Sunday bombings in April, which killed more than 250 people. Gotabaya has also vowed that if elected, he would prioritize safeguarding Sri Lanka's national security and reviving its economy, hit by a lull in tourism after the attacks.
Gotabaya Rajapaksa මහත්තයා ජනාධිපති වුණාට පස්සේ කරන්න හිතන් ඉන්න ප්‍රධානම කාර්යය තමයි රටේ ජාතික ආරක්ෂාව තහවුරු කරන එක. මම හිතන්නේ දැනට රටේ පවතින තත්ත්වයක් එක්ක මූලිකම රටේ අවශ්‍යතාවයත් ඒකම තමයි.
I suppose the key issues are as a consequence of the Easter Sunday, that whole question of security. And then, of course, the cost of living. The economy has been a tremendous challenge to a lot of people, and they've been suffering as a consequence. So I think, in terms of the issues dominating, people want to know that they are safe, and they can get on with a life that will give them a decent position in society.
Although 35 candidates are running for the presidential election, the race is essentially between two. Gotabaya will face New Democratic Front candidate, incumbent Housing Minister Sajid Premadasa, who is popular among the rural poor after campaigning to eradicate poverty and improve housing.
In the worst railway disaster over the past decade, at least 16 people were killed and more than 40 injured in a collision between two intercity trains in east-central Bangladesh early on Tuesday. At least 16 people were killed and more than 40 injured in a collision between two intercity trains in Bangladesh's Brahmanbaria early Tuesday. The train heading for the southern port city of Chittagong and one bound for capital Dhaka collided, rumpling three compartments of the southbound train. Rescuers in Bangladesh were struggling on Tuesday to pull passengers from mangled wreckage after the head-on collision of the two trains. It was not immediately clear how the two trains came to be on the same track. However, officials, after preliminary investigation, said the crash took place as the drivers failed to follow the signal of the incoming train. Train accidents in Bangladesh happen relatively frequently, many at unsupervised crossings and also because of the poor conditions of the tracks. The famous tourist spot of Natha Top in India's Jammu and Kashmir has started witnessing a surge in visitors as the area has turned into a white blanket after receiving early snowfall. Tourists from various parts of the country can be seen playing different snow games while enjoying the scenic beauty.
As early snowfall in India's Jammu and Kashmir has turned the region in a white blanket, the Natha Top area has started witnessing a surge in tourists. Tourists from various parts of India are visiting Natha Top just 10 kilometers away from Patani Top, the famous tourist spot of Jammu region. The tourists can be seen enjoying the scenic beauty and playing various snow games.
गुजरात से आए हैं हम, यहाँ नथा टॉप है, बहुत इंजॉय कर रहे हैं, बहुत बर्फ गिरी है यहाँ कश्मीर नथा टॉप पे हमने यहाँ पे गेम्स खेली, बहुत इंजॉय किया, बहुत स्नोफॉल है.
This year, the early snowfall has cheered not only the tourists but also hoteliers, taxi drivers and all others associated with the tourism industry. Tourists and pilgrims were asked to leave the erstwhile province of Jammu and Kashmir in August before the government revoked the Article 370. Travel restrictions from the region were lifted on October 10.
Well, that's the wait within South Asia this evening. Before we conclude, top stories once again. Indian Prime Minister Modi arrives in Brazil for BRICS summit. Car bomb explosion kills 7 in Afghan capital, Kabul. And Bangladesh train crash kills at least 16. Now our viewers can watch the show on SouthAsiaNewsline.com. You can also visit us on Facebook.com/SAsiaNewsline and follow us on Twitter @SAsiaNewsline. That's all in tonight's edition. We will see you same time tomorrow. Good night.